that he may practice immediately, or he may not practice immediately, but in future he knows, if a situation like this happens, how can I practice? In one narration, it says that this person is as if he's putting on ihram and he is going for performing pilgrimage. And in another narration, this person is like that individual who gets the reward of offering 1,000 rak'ah of nafil prayer. Just a few minutes to learn something. So whenever we have an opportunity to learn something, we should always avail it. And in the month of Ramadan, Allah Azza wa Jal will give us many opportunities to learn and practice things in our lives. And we should avail it in the best way possible by appreciating the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, one is the concept of fasting, the worship, the benefits. We've gone through some of them. We are going through them in other sessions of our program as we are doing Ramadan preparation from the beginning of the month of Sha'ban. In today's session, we're going to talk about the legality of things, the legal aspects of fasting. What is fasting? What are the times you should stay hungry? What are the things that break your fast? What are the things that do not break your fast? And things of that nature. So, in the legal definition of Sawm, it is refraining from anything that is entering into the body and relieving your sexual needs. These are the definitions. So no eating, no drinking, no relieving of yourself in any way, no relationships. These are all aspects of fasting that a person needs to stay away from. Now, what are the conditions? How does fasting becomes obligatory upon a person? Number one, you have to be Muslim. So there is no fasting upon non-Muslims. Number two, you have to reach the age of puberty, which is bulugh. Otherwise, fasting is optional. If you are able to fast, alhamdulillah, any good deed that you perform before you become your mature age, all that reward goes to your parents because they are the means of your encouragement. So the puberty has to be there. Number three, you have to be in a good state of mind. A person who doesn't know what fasting means, he is not in a good state of mind, then he is exempt from fasting due to any illnesses. And then you should know that fasting is one of the faridah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if all of these conditions have been met, then fasting is obligatory upon you. And what is the time of fasting? The time of fasting starts from dawn, when the true dawn comes in, and then it lasts up till sunset. Now, the true dawn, it is somewhat nowadays is something that we calculate. We don't know exactly because of the pollution, because of the light, and because of so many things. You're not able to see the clarity of the horizon. So there are two opinions of the scholars. Number one is the opinion that follow the 18 degrees, and number two are those who follow the 15 degrees. Both are permissible to practice, whatever you're practicing. However, the scholars do mention that the cautious path is to start your fast 18 degrees and to your salat to be performed after 15 degrees. However, the calendar that we follow for dawn is based on 15 degrees. There is a disclaimer that those who would like to practice the 18 degrees, that time is also printed on the calendar, which is by the name of Imsak. So the Fajr begin time in the calendar, it is the 15 degrees time, and Imsak is the time of the 18 degrees. So if you want to continue to eat until Fajr begin time, you're allowed to do that. However, safer option to start off in the earlier time. But if for some reason you can't do it, then of course the other time is always there. But after Fajr begin, if you eat something, put something in your mouth, then your fasting won't count. Now, Who are the people that are exempt from fasting? Number one, those who are travelers. They have the option to fast and not to fast. If they take the option to fast, it's permissible. If they don't take the option to fast, not to fast, then that's also permissible. What is sunnah? Some people say, okay, what is sunnah? Both are sunnah, right? The reason why both are sunnah, because both practices, they generate from the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam approved both. But it depends on the situation of a person. If you fast during travels and you become a burden on others, then it's best for you not to fast. And if you fast during travels and you become an asset for other people, then it's best for you to fast. Like when you fast and you're more active versus you're not fasting, then you become lazy. So if I'm more active, I can do a lot more things, help a lot more people, then mashallah, go ahead with your fast. But if you think that if you're going to fast and a hungry man becomes an angry man, then best thing is you stay away from fasting during travels, because these are conditions which you are not able to be in a comfort position. So that's why Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us the ability to practice this. In the same manner, women those are experiencing their monthly cycle or a post birth bleeding, all of those are people that are exempt from fasting. Children before puberty are exempt from fasting. A person who is elderly, who's chronically ill, is not able to function, has a continuous health condition, they are exempt from fasting. Sick, and then if he was to fast, the sickness will increase. People who are exempt from fasting. Similarly, a expecting mother and a nursing mother are exempt from fasting if that may cause damage to the health of the child, then they should not fast. They have to. And all these people who are exempt from fasting, they still have to fast and make up for that fast when they have missed it. So qada of fasting upon all those who have missed. As Allah Azza wa Jal says, that فَمَنْ كَانَ مِنْكُمْ مَرِيضًا أَوْ عَلَى سَفَرٍ فَعِدَّةٌ مِنْ أَيَّامٍ أُخَرٍ. So you have to make the other days. Now, if you have an illness that is continuous, it's going to exist even after Ramadan, then that illness is a fasting, that's an exemption, but that exemption needs to be given as a fidyah. So you have to give a compensation of that fast that you're not able to do so, and the amount of that compensation is the same amount as sadaqatul fitr. So whatever the sadaqatul fitr that we have as an amount, you times that by 30 or 29, whatever fasting is going to be, and you give that fidyah, and that doesn't need to be given before Ramadan, but must be given after Ramadan. It can be given before. If you know that you're going to be ill and you're not going to be fasting, then you can pay ahead, and then as the days go, it will be taken care of. But if you have an illness which you're going to gain health afterwards, you're not allowed to give fidyah for it. You should wait until you're able to gain your health and make up those fasts physically. Because this is the one who is unable to do. Who is unable to. لَا يُطِيقُونَهُ. Those who don't have the ability, then they are going to give the fidyah. Otherwise, who have the ability, they are going to fast. And if this current Ramadan, you're going through an illness, but you know that, inshallah, in the next couple of months, Allah will give you health once the procedure is done, once that done, once this done, whatever the condition is, then you should just wait until. Now, if a person says, oh, well, I don't know if I'm going to live up to that time. So if a person dies in that same illness, then he doesn't even have to give fidyah, because he didn't get sufficient amount of healthy days, which makes the fasting obligatory upon him. Because now, as the fasting is being obligatory upon you, you have a condition. Okay? So now, that taklif is not coming to you. You're not being mukallaf, you're not being held responsible because of the barrier. Then later on, the barrier is uplifted. Once the barrier is uplifted, then the taklif comes back into you. So for example, for a person, he dies in the illness that he was there, and he didn't get sufficient amount of days which he can be considered healthy for, then he doesn't have to give fidya. Why? Because fasting never became obligatory upon him due to his condition. Similarly, that will apply to the situation with expecting and nursing mother is a little different, because pregnancy goes for about 9 months, and then after that there are 2 years of nursing period. So that's about 3 consecutive years that she's going to be missing up the fasting. That is close to what? 90 days, right? That's 90 days of fasting that she needs to do. Now, what do the ulama say about this? She continues to do her fasting whenever she's able to do so, and she writes them down. At the end, if anything remaining, the fidya can be given. If nothing is remaining, then alhamdulillah. But she would not give fidya. The only condition you're able to give fidya when you have an illness that you know that you won't be able to gain health later on, that is the only condition you give fidya. A lot of people just, a little headache, they missed a fast, they just give fidya, don't even make up for it. That doesn't work here, right? It's not, deen is not something that it's like a, cube that you mixed it around different colors and whatever you get it right, you get it right. No, that's not deen, that's joke. Deen is serious. It has its principles. It has its rules and regulations, and we need to follow it accordingly. It is not my version of Islam that Allah will accept. It is His version of Islam that He's going to accept. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the ability to practice His version, not my version. Inshallah, ameen. So these are certain some conditions that are associated with fasting. Now, if a person has intention is mandatory for fasting. Intention can be anything. If a person makes an intention in the beginning of the month of Ramadan that Ramadan is coming and I'm going to fast all the days, that's sufficient for the whole month. You don't have to verbalize your intention, you don't have to, but you need to know that you're doing your fard fast. And the fard fast is going to be counting no matter what you do as long as you're fasting. If you want to verbalize your niyyah, then you can do that at the beginning of every fasting. وَبِصَوْمِ غَدٍ نَوَيْتُ مِنْ شَهْرِ رَمَضَانَ, that I will start my fasting in the upcoming day. A lot of times people say, why do you say ghad? It's not tomorrow, it's today. Well, technically is tomorrow, because after dawn, that's when the next day begins. And you're making your intention before dawn. You're not going to be making your intention after dawn, right? You're going to be making your intention before dawn so that your fast starts from dawn, and that's when the day begins, right? So that's why you say, because the day has started from night, and now you're coming with that. So that's why you make that intention, that I make the intention to start my fast from yesterday, meaning the night is already gone. Now the day is going to begin from dawn. Now, at the time of fasting, there are certain things that break your fast, and there are certain things that makes your fast dislike. And when it comes to breaking of fast, there are certain things that make the qada and kafara, which is expiatory and as well as payment. So you have to make qada and give kafara. And those are very few. What is qada? What is kafara? Qada is to keep one fast in place of the other, and kafara is to keep a fast of 60 days consecutively. So you have to fast for 60 days. That is called kafara. Now, in certain conditions, when both qada and kafara are due. So there are three things: qada, kafara, and fidya. Qada is you make up. Kafara is something you did intentionally while you were fasting that breaks your fast, and then makes kafara and qada both. That means you have to fast consecutively for 60 days for that one penalty. And number 3 is fidya when you're not able to fast. So actions that nullify the fast and make kafara and qada both obligatory. If a person eat or drink anything intentionally, it breaks his fast. He's fasting. One is the person who never fasted, who didn't even start. And the other person who fasted, but he breaks it intentionally. So kafara is for that man who breaks it intentionally, not the man who didn't start at all. Person didn't fast for 5 years. What is he going to do? He's going to make up for the fast that he didn't fast for 5 years. The kafara will only become obligatory when he kept a fast and then he broke it intentionally. Similarly, intentionally to be involved with your spouse, and then something that you did intentionally that goes through your mouth, you ate something or you took something from your mouth, that breaks your fast. Now, other than that, if something went in your mouth accidentally, that only makes qada wajib, but not kafara. You know you're fasting, right? Like you're playing with your child and you know he's fasting and he puts the lollipop in your mouth and mashallah, you sucked it in. But you know you were fasting. So now that saliva went inside, which was mixed with the lollipop juice, your fast is broken. You have to make up that fast. But there is no kafara, only qada. Because this was not intentional. Similarly, if a person, he forgot that he was fasting and he ate something. And after he ate, he says, oh, I was fasting. Ab to toot gaya. It's broken now. Let me just eat again. Now this fast needs to be repeated. Only qada, no kafara. Right? Because that was his misunderstanding of the fast. Only when a person knows that I'm fasting and what fasting is, and then he breaks it intentionally without any reason. Let's say someone got sick or something happened to someone. Then it is a different scenario. But he knows he's healthy, he can continue to keep fast, but breaks it, then only qada and kafara. Now, similarly, if a person ate something forgetfully, then his fasting is not broken. But then after that, he eats it intentionally, thinking that his fasting was broken, then fasting is broken. He needs to make up for that fast. Similarly, if a person is traveling, a lot of people have this, they're traveling overseas. Let's say a lot of people will be going to Umrah in the month of Ramadan. Now, first and foremost, if you're going to fast, how are you going to break your fast? Right? Because the way you're going to travel, you're not going to be able to tell the time. And it's very difficult. Now, so you decided, I'm not going to fast. You decided, I'm not going to fast. Even you're not going to fast, you cannot eat anything until you actually start traveling. So let's say you're staying in Irving and you have a flight from DFW and it's a 16 hours flight and you don't know when you're going to break the fast and how it's going to work or the timing or the difficulties, however that is. Then you decided, I'm not going to fast. Then you're going to do your suhoor. You will continue to stay yourself hungry. And then after that, once you get onto your travel, then you're allowed to eat. Otherwise, you cannot eat during the day. Why? Because you have to be in the halatu safar to be able to have that ruling applied upon you. When you're staying home and mashallah, you wake up 10 o'clock in the morning and you make yourself a big breakfast. And then after that you eat and then after that you take your flight. No. You're going to stay hungry the whole time until you actually are on the plane. When you leave the city of Irving, if you're staying in Irving or any other city limits that you're staying at, when you exit from there, then you are counting as a traveler. Then and only you can eat if you wish to, if you're not fasting. And then that fasting would be made up for as you after Ramadan. So if you're traveling, you have to keep those things in mind. Now let's say you decided that I'm going to fast. I'll somehow work it out. And then when you get, because the time changes very rapidly, and sometimes you're traveling ahead. So you don't get to Maghrib until like 16, 17, 18 hours. So at that, you were fasting the whole time with the intention, and you thought you were going to make it through, but unfortunately you didn't. You just break it whenever you feel that I'm going to break it, and then make up for that fast. Unless you're for sure that you have broken your fast at the same time as sunset on the current location that you are, then and only your fast is going to count. Otherwise, you'll have to make up for that fast. So a lot of these, there are some websites or apps you can find, Muslim Travels. They will tell you when you're traveling from here to here and you're fasting, which area or what time you can break your fast. Similarly, what salah time approaches. And that is a different, because that's something very complicated. Not a layman can take care of himself like that. You ask an uncle, you download the app, he's like, what's up? What's this app? Ye kya cheez hai? You just go with the simple mas'ala. If you're able to do so, you do so. Otherwise, you don't have to do. Just make up for it. Same thing with salah. A lot of people become a lot of confused. Well, you didn't get the time situation done, so that's it. You just make up for it. There is no sin if you miss a salah due to a udhr. There is no sin involved. Similarly, if you miss your fasting due to an udhr, there is no sin involved. You just have to make up for it. It was under your condition, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will accept accordingly. So these are a few things that we, just wanted to bring it forward. So now, inshallah, if anyone has any question, then this is going to be specifically to fasting. We're not taking zakah or salah questions here, okay? Those were done. If you didn't get a chance, tough luck. This is only to fasting. Yes. So you're asking that if you can calculate the Dallas time, right? So you're traveling and you calculate, okay, I left at 8 o'clock, right now is 6, 7 o'clock in Dallas. So can I break my fast or not according to this time? The answer is no. The reason why you can't do it, because Quran says that the time of fasting is from here to here. Unless you come into a situation where that time does not come into your circle. Like say you go out of space, out of this, you go into another space. How are you going to fast there? Because you are mukallaf, not the world. Understand? You are mukallaf. So wherever you go, you gotta have to pray, you have to do this, you have to do this. So you get to an area where there is no sun or sunrise and sunset. Then from the area that you departed, that's the area of time you're going to calculate. That's going to be the last time that you're going to take and calculate. But if you are within the perimeters of the world where the sun rises and the sun sets, then you have to wait for that. Unless you end up in an area where the sun doesn't rise or the sun doesn't set, and there are countries in the world. Then there are two opinions of the scholars. The first is you follow the closest country which has sunrise and sunset. The second opinion is you calculate evenly 12 and 12. And there is a third opinion, you just follow the central time of the world. And that is, what is the central time of the world? Mecca. So you follow that time. Not because you're going to follow Saudi. A lot of people have this issue, why Saudi? Well, if anybody else existed in that same piece of land, we would have done that same thing, because that's the central of the world. There are a lot of things that are connected with the central of the world. So it doesn't matter who's there, as long as that is the central of the world, that's how it's going to count. Yes. So, so the question is the calculation of days. Okay, so when you go from here to overseas, you lose a day. And when you come back, you gain a day. Okay? Wherever you're going to finish your Eid, wherever you're going to finish your Ramadan, those are the days you're going to count. So let's say you started here and you ended up in, let's say Misr, right? And in Misr happened 29 days, and over here it were 30 days. You're going to go with 29. Vice versa. Unless you fall one day short, you go up to 28. Let's say if you get here, and by the time the people are going to finish the Ramadan, you started one day late and you're finishing one day early here. Those people over there had 29 days, and when you get here, you're going to end up with 28 days. So what do? You do the Eid with the people that you are with, and then you make up for one fast after Eid. You're not going to be fasting and everybody else is celebrating. You have to go with the area that you are. There is the mas'ala in the Islamic teachings, go with the area that you are, not where you came from or who you are or where were you. Wherever you are, that is the time, that is the situation you're going to adopt. To the extent that if you even fall one day short, you will still do Eid with the people here and make up for that one day. So that's how it's going to work, inshallah. Yes. 31 days is fine. If you are here and they happen to have 30 days where actually you end up doing 31 days, then Bismillah, Allah gave you another day to fast. You end up doing 31, 35, 36, no matter what. But you cannot fall short. You cannot do 28 because 28 doesn't work. Yes. What makes fast makruh? So there are two aspects of fasting that makes makruh. One is the physical aspect and one is the spiritual aspect. Lying makes fasting makruh. Backbiting makes fasting makruh. Fighting and arguing makes fasting makruh. Similarly, cheating on someone or cheating someone is considered fasting makruh. So these are the spiritual aspects of it that makes fasting makruh. The physical aspect that makes fasting makruh, if a person cries about hunger or complains about hunger and thirst. Right? If a person says, I'm hungry, that is fine. Right? But he cries and complains, why do I have to be hungry? Or why should I stay hungry? Why do I have to fast? That is complaining about hunger. One is expression of your feeling that I'm hungry. And the other one is, why am I hungry? Why do I have to fast? So if you complain about hunger or food or water, then you're considered to be making your fasting makruh. Similarly, if you taste something, even after you taste it, you spit it out, your fasting becomes makruh, except for two people. One is a cook, because he has to make food for so many people. And if he doesn't check, then everybody's food is going to be ruined. And number two is a wife. Right? Number two is a wife. Because the wife is the one that takes care of the food of the house and she needs that access. So these are, similarly, if a person puts something in his mouth or sniffs something in his mouth intentionally without any valid reason, that makes the fasting makruh. So these are the physical aspect of that action items that makes fasting makruh. And then just to add, any type of injection, any type of drawing blood does not break your fast. Even if you take insulin while you're fasting, it does not break your fast. A lot of people don't fast because they're diabetic, right? Well, you can take insulin and you can control your sugar level. If you're taking it through injection, then it will not invalidate your fast. If you're taking it orally, then it's going to invalidate your fast. So that is permissible. Similarly, if a person uses an allergy spray on his nose, If it's a necessity, then it will not invalidate. Right? And if it's not a necessity, then it's going to invalidate because you can feel the saliva in your throat after you sniff something in your nose. In the same manner, if a person has used the asthma pump, according to Abu Hanifa, asthma pump is going to invalidate your fast. According to other ai it's not going to invalidate because it's just the air, unless if there is medicine, because Imam Shafi'i says medicine is not something that you can take strength from. This is due to illness. So if you have taken that, then it will not invalidate. The safer option is not to use. If you do really have to use, then you can use it. But these are the difference of opinion. It is better to make up for that fast, inshallah. Yes. Toothpaste is permissible to use as long as you don't swallow the saliva. Some fuqaha have mentioned that it's makruh, but Abu Hanifa rahmatullah alayhi says that the smell of the mouth, it comes from the stomach, not from the mouth. So you're allowed to have your mouth freshened if any way possible. Using a siwak is a better option, but toothpaste is permissible. Similarly, if the saliva goes into your mouth, or water goes into your mouth, or saliva goes which is mixed with blood and has a overpowering blood in your saliva, it is going to break your fast. If nothing goes down your throat, then it's not going to break your fast. Eye drop, there are differences of opinion amongst the scholar. If you are using as a medicine, then you should avoid using it during fasting, unless if you put it in and you felt the residue of the medicine in your throat, then it will invalidate. If you don't feel it, it's not going to invalidate. But if they're just eye tears, tears that they have, artificial tears, that to get rid of the dryness of the eyes, that is permissible to use. Similarly, if someone is putting contact lenses, some of the contact solutions going into your eyes, that is permissible. It does not invalidate the fast. Yes. Blood sugar, he can take insulin. Injection. It doesn't break the fast. Yes. So if there is nothing that can be put into the body through injection and you have to take it orally, then it's going to break your fast. And if that condition continues, then you give fidya of the fast. Inshallah, subhanallah wa bihamdihi, subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika wa nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Jazakumullahu khairan. جزاك الله خير.